Preparation is so important. Time now for another check of your weather forecast. And Brittany, you have been tracking the tropics and keeping us updated with the latest developments. What can you tell us?
I would say that there's very positive news over the last 24 hours, which is a track shift a little bit further away from us here in the Carolinas. Now, we are still going to see rain and we are still going to see wind. So when we get that rain and wind heading into next week, while it is expected to be a bit lower than previous model data was showing, we have to contend with the rain we've already seen. We had rain Thursday night, we had rain on Friday, we had rain this morning too, and we are still tracking a few areas of storms. The reason why this is important is because additional rainfall on top of what has already fallen will create a low wind risk of some localized flooding. Eastern side of Alexander County seeing some rain, heavy also at times now, starting to push into northern Iredell. We also have some rain too on the northern side of Catawba County. Few sprinkles here on the eastern side of 77 near Huntersville. That will be moving toward the Concord Kannapolis area between 7:15 and 7:30. And some downpours over uptown Charlotte right now, also shifting south down toward the South Park area. And then a wider view here of northeastern Union County, New Salem, some heavy rain there. A few lightning strikes with even some pink mixing in, which indicates the chance for some small hail. Also some lighter to more moderate rainfall just north of Wadesboro up toward Ansonville. So with that being said, the rest of tonight, we will see this off and on shower and storm potential. I do expect most areas to be dry by 10 o'clock. Sunday, probably one of our driest days of the week with only a few spritz and sprinkles at times, mostly cloudy with temperatures once again in the 80s. But where the tropical moisture starts to really shift in will be mainly Monday night and into Tuesday. Some of this earlier rainfall associated with that same cold front we've been watching, it's stalling over the area. So the stall already brings us more clouds and more areas of rain. So the tropical moisture that's coming in from 9, which will eventually be Imelda, will just likely enhance some of that moisture content. So we're not getting a lot of substantial widespread flooding at this point with these latest updates. But again, we will still see rain and we'll still see some gusty wind. So I still want folks to be prepared for the fact that it's not just all of a sudden not going to rain here in Charlotte next week. Here's where Tropical Depression 9 is right now. Still a very large system at this point over Cuba, that is, eastern parts of Cuba there. It's essentially right on the edge between what we would classify the Caribbean and the southern Atlantic. It kind of splits hairs here because the outer bands are just offshore near Miami. It's a pretty large system, not a closed low, which right now, and it doesn't have winds of 39 miles an hour, which is the reason why it hasn't become Imelda yet. But this storm's still expected to get close to the Carolina coast before pushing away by early next week. So a lot of question marks as to why. Well, I'll again dive a little bit deeper into this on our next update. We're just weather focused because I can't take too much of your time right here during this newscast. But the biggest reason why, storm center, once it did form a little bit further south, system has slowed down a bit. And with that, it could get pulled away using that Fujiwara effect, as we talked about earlier this week, largely because of Umberto. A name you haven't probably heard in a few days since we've been briefly mentioning the storm, but maybe not as in depth as Imelda. So right now we have Bahamas all the way up toward eastern parts there of Florida under tropical storm warnings, largely offshore, and some watches as well. Again, latest model runs, you can see very, very good consensus in some of those models, some of our most reliable models at that, of a turn off toward the east. There are still some that bring it into the Carolinas, but this time yesterday we were looking at, I would say 75% of models showing it into the Carolinas and 25% out to sea, and now that has switched. Again, it's still going to get close to the Carolinas, still going to get a graze nonetheless, but the big reason why, again, is Umberto. So, slower storm. Center a little bit further south allows for Umberto to get that same Fujiwara effect where it kind of pulls Imelda with it out to sea, because Umberto, while we were again talking a lot about 9, became a Category 5 hurricane. Current winds of 160 miles an hour, third Category 5 we've had so far this year. So Umberto, again, with the strength of the storm and the fact that Imelda is expected to be a bit slower and a bit weaker, will likely allow for the storm to be pulled out to sea. But again, I will mention that doesn't mean we're completely rain-free here in Charlotte. I would still expect between now and this time next week to see about 2 to 3 inches of rain for the majority of the area. Mountain community seeing less, which is great news since they've seen more rain the past few days. But there likely will still be some localized flooding in parts of areas east of I-77, that is, especially near the coast. Gusty wind-wise from Tuesday night and into Wednesday, we could have some wind gusts near 30 to 35 miles an hour. But again, the coastal spots will still see the highest winds. Now, this is just one run of the European model, but it is one that is in very good agreement with what my current forecast thoughts are right now. So again, We're not completely out of the woods in the Carolinas yet, but coastal spots seeing the worst impacts at this point. Trends lesser that the storm will come inland, but it will likely still get very close. And here in the Charlotte area, no direct impacts expected at this point, but we will still see areas of gusty winds, cloudy skies, and of course rain into early next week. Good news is, Siobhan, by the end of next week and into next weekend, this is the first time I've had the chance to show the 10-day in quite some time, cooler and drier air. Finally feeling a little bit like fall. Lows back in the 50s, highs in the 70s, which will set us up for perfect weather for the Roval next Sunday.
It is so nice to see the light at the end of the tunnel.